So the self-care side is really unique person to person. It's not every single person needs 8 hugs a day, which is a statistic. But if you are somebody who is repulsed by physical touch, that's going to be not good for you. Don't go hugging people because you read it in a book. Hello, sunshine, and welcome back to the latest episode of the Neurodivergent Creative Podcast. Today, we are talking about self-care. Now, self-care is confusing because some people use self-care to mean like it's sort of tongue-in-cheek. They're like, oh, I got myself a little iced coffee because self-care. And sometimes people use self-care to mean like bath bombs, bubble baths, nice, luxurious skincare. And sometimes people use self-care to mean I took a shower today. So that is a vast, very vast spectrum of what self-care could mean. And I am going to let you in on a way that I think about self-care that is quite helpful. And it's that I separate self-care into like meat suit maintenance, like my human body and what a body needs, versus like self-care that is for my spiritual self. Like my concept of a self is my creativity needs, my relationship and intimacy needs, my community needs. Because like a human body can exist with sugar solution, like, they can keep you alive in a coma in a hospital doing basic meat suit maintenance. Self-care for me is above and beyond that meat suit maintenance. But at the same time, I still sometimes need to apply extra attention to those maintenance things because disability is hard. And sometimes between like depression, anxiety, fatigue, like taking a shower doesn't always happen when I want it to. So there's definitely something to be said for like having very basic care tasks that you're doing. And so those include like, what are you eating? Are you getting enough nutrition? Are you eating enough calories? Are you drinking water and hydrating yourself and not just like sodas or juices or whatever? But honestly, soda has water in it. If it's a choice between like Dr. Pepper and nothing, drink the Dr. Pepper. I'm so excited for the trolls in my comments. But my friend, when they were dealing with, I think they have POTS, which is, I don't remember what it stands for, but basically your body needs a lot of salt and sodium, and you can faint if you don't have enough. Like it's a blood pressure problem. And so my friend happened to end up like self-medicating with Dr. Pepper, which they were drinking for the caffeine, but the side effect of which was that it also gave them enough sodium so that they could stand up and do stuff without passing out. And at the end of the day, their doctor was like, you know what? It's hydrating enough and it's keeping you alive. So sure, Dr. Pepper and like Carnation instant breakfast. If that's what you're eating, that's what you're eating. So that is not nutrition advice. That is saying that fed is best. Sometimes with my eating disorder, like I try to eat at least 1 serving of vegetables a day, right? Usually more. If we're having green beans with dinner, I will fight everyone in my house so that I get all the green beans. I love green beans. Also red onions. Not sure why. I love a nice crunchy salad. I love a lot of veggies, but the texture of raw vegetables makes me gag. And I don't always have the energy to cook the vegetables. So sometimes if I want a vegetable, it like goes into a smoothie, or I cut up some green onions and put them in ramen, or I put like some lettuce on a sandwich. You don't get to pick and choose all the time. So what you can do is your best. Excellent. Great. What else does your body meat suit need? Hygiene. So you got to take a shower. You got to wash your hair. You got to wash your body parts. Otherwise you get bacteria and it's all yucky. We don't like it. So wash yourself, brush your teeth. Dental hygiene, very important. If you cannot floss every day, try to floss once a week. This is what my therapist calls all or something. because I would go in and I'm like, Jared, if I can't do this perfectly every single time, you'll notice a theme with me. We just talked about perfectionism, didn't we? If I can't do this perfectly, like, why bother, basically? Why do anything? And so he very correctly pointed out that this is very black and white thinking, very all or nothing. You either check the box or you die in a ditch. And so he gave me the concept of all or something, which is you cannot do it all. So take one step, do one little thing. And wouldn't you know it, I floss like at least every other day now, because the permission to not have to be perfect at it allowed me to like let go of some of the perfectionism and shame around it, which means I was able to remember to do it more. That when I thought about flossing, I wasn't like, oh, woe is me, I'm the worst, I have bad oral hygiene. Like, no, I just floss. And so they told me that about how fast plaque will start to calcify and like lead to tartar buildup and gingivitis and like all the bad stuff that we don't want in our mouths because And that made it click. And I'm like, okay, I can do every 48 hours. I can do every other night at a minimum to floss. And that became easy. And sometimes I do it like multiple nights in a row. So I can go 2 weeks, floss every night, and then I'll forget. But the forgetting doesn't mean I never floss again. And that used to be how I would respond to that. It's just like, oh, missed a day. Whoops. And then you get back on and do the same thing again. I don't know why I have this thing in my brain. Yes, I do. Like, it's neurodivergence. But when I am, like, I have a streak that I'm doing every single day, and then that streak is broken, some part of me wants to just throw it all away and be like, well, okay, we're not doing that anymore. That's gone. That's no longer part of me and who I am and what I do. That's made up. That's a story that your brain tells you. It's optional. You don't have to do that. You can choose to say, you know, I missed a day, and it doesn't change a thing. And then floss the next day. You know, it's fine. Like in the summer, I have to shower a lot more frequently than I do like in the winter because it's hot and sweaty and I go walk the dog and it's all humid and nasty out there. I don't like it. And I don't want all the places. I'm a fat person, okay? If you're watching me on YouTube, you know. But like the folds and the flaps on a human body where skin touches skin, you got to get in there and wash with a washcloth and air dry the whole shebang. And it's like an ordeal. But I have to do the ordeal because I don't want summer sweaty goop everywhere. And that goes back to what we were talking about last week about disability and how disabled people typically take longer to do a task that could take a neurotypical or able-bodied person a lot less time to do. And that is because I do not like to be damp. That goes back to childhood. Here's a random weird story. I was staying with my aunt. And we had to like get ready we were going out to eat, I think. We were going to a restaurant. And I didn't want to take a shower because I knew I would have to put my sports bra on. So I'm probably like 12, 13-ish. Like, I don't have boobs yet. I had like a training bra. And I knew that it was going to roll up and get stuck on my damp skin. And so I'm like, I don't want to take a shower before I go because I'm not going to be able to get my bra on. And she assumed that I was just like making up a weird story because I didn't want to go out. And I hate that about like the ways that people treat autistic children or children with any like sensory difficulties or eating disorders even. There's that little girl with ARFID. I think her name's Hannah. I wrote a blog about her. She does like reels on Instagram and TikTok and stuff where she tries a new food every day. And by doing this, by like setting it up like it's a show that she's on, she's able to try new foods a lot easier than if she was just like at home trying a new food, right? But she'll do it like she'll do it for the gram. She does it for her audience. She does it because people are so like kind to her and they're like, good job, you tried it. Like, that's okay. I don't like that either. And she has this community of people who are really supportive. However, there are also people in the comments who are like, well, she's a spoiled brat. If that was me, if I was her parent, I would make her go to bed with no dinner. And it's like, I cannot explain to you how much turmoil food causes this girl. And people are just upset that in this vast future world, right, where we can do anything and capitalism has 17 layers of middlemen to sell us stuff that we don't need, that like we also have language around picky eating, and that it can be so impactful and disabling to someone's life that it is a disorder that requires medical intervention and help. Like, why is that so far outside of the realm of possibility, but like you can order a sandwich on your phone? Anyway, I'm going off on a weird tangent now. My point is, people are living in their own bodies and they have their own needs. So part of like Hannah's meat suit maintenance is that she has to eat food to live. She has to eat calories to survive. And sometimes that means that she's going to eat Doritos because she knows, here's another thing, people hate this. People with picky eating, ARFID, sensory disorders, a lot of the times, also just like any kid in general, a lot of the times there's a preference for processed food. And it's really easy to demonize that and to say, oh, so terrible, just junk food all day long. It's junk food, it's junk food. Without thinking about it in the sense that that food is consistent every single time you eat it. That cracker is going to crunch the same. That cheese is going to melt the same. If you eat a blueberry or you get a head of lettuce, sometimes they can be mushy, sometimes they're sour, sometimes they're sweet. The lettuce might be wilty, it might be crunchy. Natural foods, though they hold more nutrition, are not consistent in a way that some children, some adults really need their food to be. They need a consistent food for their own like sensory processing. And that's an accommodation of a disability. And that's okay. Really started in on like meat suit maintenance versus self-care, but now I think I'm like going in really hard on like food. But beyond that, other meat suit maintenance. That's right. We got to eat. We got to drink water. We got to shower and do hygiene and brush our teeth. We need exercise. Like your body responds well to exercise. We need to move it around, right? Like if you lay in bed all the time, you get bed sores. Body isn't supposed to be resting constantly. But we don't need excessive amounts of exercise. You can get cardiovascular benefits with 4,400 steps a day. And I will put a link in the show notes to the nutritionist that I learned that from, because I was floored. All the messaging is around like 10,000 steps a day, yada, yada. You got to do 10 plus. You don't. Like 4,000 steps, you're doing great. You are doing great. But also not everybody can walk. Not everybody can walk 4,000 steps. I walk around the block with my dog once a day. It's probably like 1,000 steps. And then obviously I'm like walking around the house, I'm doing stuff. I take her out for potty breaks, yada, yada. Some days I probably don't hit 4,000. Other days I hit more than 4,000 because we take a really long walk. As soon as I get some new shoes, I am in a hiking group and really looking forward to going on hikes with people. I would love if I could take my dog. Behave yourself and we can go on hikes, Gwen. So there are ways to get exercise that are fun and joyful and playful for you. Like I got this thing called an infinity hoop, and it's like a hula hoop that like snaps around your waist, and then there's like a weighted ball on it. It's like a skip it. I'm 36 years old. It's like a skip it, but on your waist, and you just kind of like hula hoop with it. And I do that for like 3 minutes at a time, and it works. It works muscles that tell me I don't know how to use a hula hoop. And that makes sense. You use like your legs more than anything else. There's like a thigh meat action happening with it. Meanwhile, I just thought you're supposed to like throw your ass in a circle to move a hula hoop. That is not how hula hoops work. I learned this with an infinity hoop. So yeah, walk your dog, go outside in nature, take a hike, literally, or not. There are ways to find, also just throw some music on and dance. Like you're probably exercising more than you think, which means you probably don't need to beat yourself up about it. And I say this as somebody who used to do like probably 2+ hours of workouts fairly frequently, like at least 30 minutes a day of like pretty intense exercise. I used to be a distance runner, so there were some days where I would be running 3, 5, 6, 8 miles a day and then wondering why I was so hungry. Like, you need more food if you're moving more, FYI. Meat suit maintenance. Meat suit. Your meat suit also needs rest. And not like just sleeping, but it needs restorative rest. You have to sit down and quit doing shit. You have to. You have to, or you'll explode. I don't think you'll literally explode, but you catch my drift, right? So what do we need? We need food, water, hygiene, exercise, and rest. Those are some things that your body needs. Now, on top of that, there's self-care in like the spiritual self way. This includes stuff like community, religion, like going to church. That's self-care because it is for yourself. It is for your inner you. Meat suit maintenance is for your outer you. Self-care, inner you. This can be creativity, art, music, hobbies, right? I think I said relationships and intimacy. And this is also great because meat suit maintenance is pretty consistent person to person. Like 4,400 steps is going to give your body cardiovascular benefits for 99% of people, right? Maybe there's situations where like that's ill-advised. And also if you can't walk, please don't be like, Caitlin said I have to do 4,400 steps. No. But for the most part, like every human person should eat a vegetable, drink some water, and move around a little bit and sleep enough, right? And take a shower and brush your teeth. That's not controversial. What's controversial is saying that just as important as those things are like physical touch and intimacy and sex, if you want those things. So the self-care side is really unique person to person. It's not every single person needs 8 hugs a day, which is a statistic, right? I think it is 8 hugs a day, like boosts oxytocin and does really good things to like the joy related hormones that are released from physical touch. But if you are somebody who is repulsed by physical touch, that's going to be not good for you. Don't go hugging people because you read it in a book, you know? So the self-care side of things, like creativity, play, intimacy, however that intimacy looks, that could just be like talking with a friend, or it could be physical, touching, sex, whatever, vast spectrum of human emotion and expression when we talk about intimacy. And then there's also the stuff like in the middle of the Venn diagram. So something like a hot bath, that can be for your hygiene, but also for your self-care. You know, like, oh, I just really like to relax in a hot bath. I read a book in the bath. It's very relaxing for me. So part of that is for your self-care. Part of that is for your meat suit. And then when we bring disability into it, that could also help reduce pain. You could do like an Epsom salt foot soak for like pain reduction, or even just, I don't know, you like getting your toes done, right? Like for me, I like getting manicures. You can tell I don't have a ton of expendable cash right now because I don't have my nails done. But I like manicures because it gives me a visual that like, I'm an adult with my shit together. That's what my nails being done tells me psychologically. Obviously, I am alive and functional without my nails done. So there's definitely part of this that's like very core to my self-care versus things that are nice to have. And you get to make those delineations for yourself. That's totally fine. Also like stretching. Stretching, really good for your meat body. Also really good for your like mental health. Taking a few minutes to just stretch out, focus on your breathing. These are things that are good for both. They live in the middle of the Venn diagram. And then something like massage or visiting a chiropractor, that can be something to help your meat body. Sorry I say meat body so much. I feel like somebody's going to be like, that's the grossest term I've ever heard. It helps me. It makes me feel like I am a soul piloting a body that I can take care of, as opposed to like being a body housing a soul. I don't think I am the body. I think I am the soul. And I just went off on a weird existential thing. But whether you are a body with a spirit or a spirit with a body, I think that this approach to like what's for the meat suit and what is for like my higher self, my inner self, myself with a capital S. This has helped me like reframe how I prioritize things. And hopefully it can help you too. So let me know what you think. If you're listening to this audio only, shoot me a DM on Instagram. Tell me what you think about it. If you're watching on YouTube, please leave a comment. I love the comments. And the more nice comments, the more angels get their wings and stuff. All right. Love you guys. See you next week. Bye.